What are you afraid of?
Welcome to your no-nonsense guide for Black Swan. Starting off with your overall goals for the build, it's going to be 3k attack, 143 speed if you're running a Kafka, and 120% effect hit rate. This is to reach the cap on the third trace, allowing for a 72% damage increase. Plain and simple, so long as you can reach these requirements, you're really going to be able to do just about any content in the game you want, so long as you have the teams for it. First things first, let's go over pull priority. If you've already pulled for Black Swan, then should you pull for her E1 or her S1? If you have a Kafka and S5 Eyes of the Prey, it is well worth your time to pull for her E1 over her S1 Light Cone. If perchance you don't have a Kafka or S5 Eyes of the Prey, then her S1 Light Cone is an amazing pickup. Obviously being her best in slot, there's nothing that could go wrong. Going over her other light cones before the tutorial mission starts is an amazing free-to-play light cone, filling a niche of increasing her ultimate usage as much as possible. Before the tutorial mission starts, offering an extra 8 energy regeneration per attack in conjunction with an energy regeneration link rope can allow for a amazing uptime on her ultimate, allowing for about every 3 turns for her ultimate to proc. Kafka's Light Cone is a great choice if you're not already running another copy of this Light Cone on your team. The reason for this is that the debuff coming from Kafka's Light Cone does not stack with the more of her Light Cones that you have. A high imposition for Mata is going to do wonders as well, though it won't nearly be as good as before the tutorial mission starts or Eyes of the Prey. Good Night and Sleep Well is an amazing free-to-play option in some situations. For example, a Sampo and Black Swan team. In this situation, you'd want to run Eyes of the Prey on Sampo and Good Night and Sleep Well on your Black Swan. Relics, on the other hand, are a little bit more complicated. Her best in slot relics are going to be Prisoner for Peace, followed by 2-piece Prisoner, 2-piece Speed, Attack, or Wind Damage sets. The best in slot Planar Ornaments is going to be Pan Cosmic Commercial Enterprise, increasing your effect hit rate by 10% and increasing your attack by 25% of your current effect hit rate up to a maximum of 25%. For your main stats, the chest piece is going to want to be effect hit rate. Yes, even with light cones that already have a flat effect hit rate bonus, it is really difficult to reach 120% effect hit rate, as that is your goal with Black Swan, to get as close as possible to 120 as you can, due to her third trace, giving you a 72% damage increase. Your boot main stat is going to want to be speed. Speed, speed, speed. Speed is the name of the game with Black Swan, as the more times you attack in one cycle, the more stacks of Arcana and Wind Shear you can apply, allowing for your Kafka, if you have one, to deal more damage. Note, your Black Swan should be moving before your Kafka. If your Black Swan moves after your Kafka, you are losing out on a solid chunk of damage. For your orb, attack percent is really the way to go, if you have Run May. If you don't, wind damage percent is the second best option. The reason why you would run attack percent with Run May and not without is because it scales much better with Run May's passives than wind damage will. For your rope, you want to run attack percent, unless you are looking for a 3-turn ult cycle. In this case, running an ER rope with before the tutorial mission starts is your best bet. It should allow for almost 100% uptime on her ultimate. In terms of substats, you are really looking for effect hit rate, speed, and attack. Ideally, you want to have 10 to 12 effect hit rate per piece, followed by as much speed and attack as possible. Break effect is okay, and crit substats are wasted. I repeat, crit substats are wasted. there is no point in running any crit substats on a DOT character, as it won't scale. Team compositions. Your overall best team comp is going to be Black Swan, Kafka, Ho-Oh, and Ruan-Mei, allowing for a massive damage increase with Ruan-Mei, and Ho-Oh to increase energy regeneration and a flat attack buff. Kafka is obviously there to enable Black Swan, and Black Swan is there because it's a Black Swan team. Important things to note about Black Swan and Kafka is that Black Swan's damage is what is called backloaded, so it happens on the start of the enemy turn rather than on the beginning of yours. Using a Kafka allows you to switch some of that damage to the front end and deal that on your turn rather than waiting. This will allow you to clear through MOC on a lower cycle. Ho-Oh being her best support is just because it gives team-wide healing, bonus damage, and a little bit of energy. You can run a Luocha, Fushuan, or Japard if they are built well enough, and they will do just fine. As for Ruan-Mei, she is almost irreplaceable, but a Pela can do wonders. Kafka can be interchanged for Sampo, but it really doesn't work unless Sampo is E4. For people who are just starting out and may have pulled Black Swan, your best bets are going to be Black Swan, Tingyun if you have her, Fire MC once you get to that point in the game, and any healer you can fit into the team. This can obviously be adjusted as need be to help you clear content, but it is important to buff Black Swan if she is your only damage dealer. Moving on to Black Swan's kit is where things really get interesting. Breaking down how her kit works, all of her skills, like every other character, have percentage-based aspects that scale with skill level. Her basic attack deals wind damage equal to a percentage of her attack to a single enemy, with a base chance of inflicting Arcana on a target. Additionally, when a target is suffering from any DOT effect, you have another chance to apply a second stack of Arcana. Her skill is also relatively simple, dealing again wind damage equal to a percentage of her attack to a target enemy and adjacent targets at the same time. There is a 100% base chance of inflicting a stack of Arcana on the target enemy, and there is a 100% base chance of reducing the target's defense by a scaling percentage based on skill level. Her ultimate is where things get a little bit more complicated. When you use her ultimate, it inflicts a debuff called Epiphany on all enemies for 2 turns. While afflicted with Epiphany, enemies take increased damage on their turn. Additionally, if they are inflicted with Arcana, that Arcana stack counts for a Wind Shear, Bleed, Burn, and Shock effect simultaneously. After Arcana causes damage at the start of each turn, its stacks aren't reset. This can be triggered once per the duration of Epiphany, and this trigger count resets when Epiphany is reapplied. It also deals wind damage equal to a percentage of Black Swan's attack to all enemies. Her talent is where things get complicated. Every single time an enemy receives DOT at the start of each turn, there is a percentage-based chance to inflict the target with another stack of Arcana. This percentage scales with skill level. While afflicted with Arcana, enemies receive wind DOT equal to a massive chunk of Black Swan's attack at the start of each of the enemy's turns. Each stack increases this damage multiplier by another scaling percentage per skill level. Arcana then resets to 1 stack. Arcana can stack up to 50 times. Only when Arcana causes damage at the start of an enemy's turn, Black Swan triggers additional effects. With 3 or more stacks of Arcana, she deals wind damage equal to another scaling percent of her attack to adjacent targets, with a base chance, again scaling with talent level, to inflict more Arcana. When there are 7 or more stacks of Arcana, it enables the current DOT dealt to ignore 20% of the adjacent target's defense. Looking at her bonus abilities is really where her kit starts to tie in. Her first bonus ability, gives another 65% base chance to inflict an extra stack of Arcana to a single target that has Wind Shear, Burn, Bleed, or Shock. Each of these debuffs has this chance. For example, if you have Shock and Wind Shear, there are 2 sets of a 65% chance to inflict an extra stack of Arcana. Her next bonus ability gives a 65% base chance for every enemy to be inflicted with a stack of Arcana when you enter battle. And every time an enemy target receives DOT damage during a single attack by an ally, there's a 65% base chance for the target to be inflicted with another stack of Arcana. The maximum stacks that can be inflicted during one single attack is 3. Her final bonus ability is the most important, and it's also the reason you want to have 120% effect hit rate, or as close to it as possible, because this bonus ability gives increased damage to Black Swan by an amount equal to 60% of her effect hit rate, up to a maximum of 72%. Finally, taking a look at her technique. After her technique is used, there's a 150% base chance for each enemy to be inflicted with 1 stack of Arcana. For each successful application of Arcana on a target, it inflicts another stack of Arcana on the same target. This process repeats until Arcana fails to be inflicted. For each successful application, the chance for Arcana to then be applied again is cut in half. Next, we're going to take a look at her Eidolons. E1 is going to be your best friend for Kafka teams and low spenders over the light cone, as stated earlier. The reason for this is that there is a effect resistant shred by 25% for every single element applied to an enemy. This is a team-wide buff. Her E2 is phenomenal. When an enemy target afflicted with Arcana is defeated, there is a 100% base chance to inflict 6 stacks of Arcana to adjacent targets. Her E3 allows for an additional 2 levels on her skill and talent for a maximum level of 15. Her E4 is phenomenal. For anyone willing to spend, this is where I would recommend stopping. Well, in Epiphany, enemy targets have their effect res reduced by an additional 10%, and at the start of their turn or when they get defeated, Black Swan regenerates 8 energy. This energy regeneration can only trigger up to 1 time while Epiphany lasts, and the trigger count is reset when Epiphany is reapplied. Her E5 allows an additional 2 levels for her ultimate and 1 level for her basic attack, allowing for level 15 and 10 respectively. Her E6 is really the pinnacle of DOT characters at this current point. When an enemy is attacked by Black Swan's allies, she has a 65% base chance of inflicting another stack of Arcana. Every single time Black Swan inflicts Arcana on an enemy, there is a 50% fixed chance to apply a second stack. This just leaves the questions of should you pull for the character if you don't have them, and if you do, should you build them? And her Black Swan, I think absolutely. She is by far the best DOT character we have seen yet. The amount of potential that Black Swan has in certain team comps is absolutely ridiculous, and I don't think she'll be topped anytime soon. Though, time will tell. Thank you for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed. This was my first time doing something like this, so if there are any glaring issues, please do let me know, and I will try to fix them in the future. And that's been that. I do hope to see you again, and I hope you have an amazing day.